it is where you're watching this, but it's about afternoon for us. And I'm here today with my aunt. And not just because I want to talk to my aunt, because I use all the excuses I can to do that. But Joanna has a really powerful story. And I have been lucky enough to be on the front line of that story for
thank you.
My whole life, for 37 years.
Oh, that's sweet.
Okay, so we're going to dive right in. And I want you to tell some of the good stuff. We're going to start off with the good stuff because her story is one of, and I think superficially, it's of weight loss. But I know, just because I know you, it's a lot deeper than that.
Right.
So tell us, how much weight have you lost and how long has that taken?
I have lost 156 pounds, and it's been about a year and maybe a month.
Did you ever think, I can remember one time we were talking and you're like, I can't wait. I'm going to be on the cover of that magazine as like that person. But I mean, it felt so far. Did you really ever imagine you'd be here saying, oh my gosh, y'all, I've lost 156 pounds?
No, because you're at a point where that's so far away from you that it's something you cannot even visualize in your head, or how you're going to feel when it happens.
So how do you feel right now being able to say that?
I mean, it sounds horrible to say, but I feel like a tremendous weight's been lifted off. But I mean, I feel so much better physically, and I'm so amazingly proud of my accomplishment, what I've done, because I've done it myself, and my family's proud. I mean, it's just, I feel really good right now.
Isn't it hard? It's like, how do you feel? I'm like, well, good, but it doesn't cover it. It's so much more than that.
It's like an emotion, where do you come up with a word that I guess I could make up a word. I feel very platonic. That's a word that means beyond joy, beyond all means.
It probably doesn't mean that. It means something totally different. And somebody out there like,
don't look up platonic, because I really don't know what it means. If it means bad, I apologize.
Okay. So platonic, that's good. But one of the things, that we talk about, I know in my program, Mind into Motion, where we talk about how it's not just one thing. So saying, oh, I feel good about my weight loss is like saying, I'm happy that I put on a shirt today. It's like, no, I'm like, there's so much more to it. There is what's happening physically, what's happening mentally, what's happening emotionally. Like, yeah, you put on an outfit in the morning, the shirt's just part of it.
Right.
So there's so much more going on. And yeah, we'll get all into that.
That's absolutely right. Absolutely.
So I start with the good stuff so that we can dive a little bit deeper into some of the tough stuff for a minute, because there's someone out there who was where you were before all this started, who is saying that thing right now, like, it's so far away. Why do I even care? Like, okay, awesome. She lost 156 pounds. I've heard stories like that a million times. Pick up a People magazine. There's somebody that's lost 156 pounds, but that's not me.
Right.
So our goal today in this conversation is, I think we both want to make this tangible for that person who needs it. So what was the very bottom like? What was that like? Where were you? How did you feel? Because I know there's someone out there right now who's there.
I tell you, I went and pulled my journal, and this was the bottom. June 25th, I wrote it down. June 25th, 2017. And that was the bottom. That was it. Because I called my sister in tears, crying and saying, I don't even know what's the point of going on. I don't want to get out of bed. I don't want to get dressed. I hate taking a shower. I hate everything. There's so much I can't do. I don't even want to go on. And she told me at that point, she said, I'm going to tell you this. Her name is Hannah Keeling, and she's what I call a life coach. And she said, give me 6, and I even wrote it here. I don't know if you can see it. 6 months of trusting God and trusting her. She said, give me 6 months. And so this was June 25th. And so I hung up with her, and I counted, and that was Christmas Day was going to be when the 6 months was up. And I was like, oh, now that's
That's
kind of really
weird.
cool.
That
Yeah,
is weird, but weird in a
really
cool
cool.
way. Yeah.
So she said that, and she prayed with me, and I just felt like, okay, I can do this, but if I don't start, I'm never going to do this. And that was the point where I knew I was going to start.
That's incredible. And that I love that you have a specific date.
Oh
It's
yeah,
not a
exact
cool thing.
date.
It's like, people keep dates like their birthday, and I know like baptism dates,
Yep.
different things like that. Maybe a
I guess like my baptism date because
yeah,
I was
I was
being
like, it's kind of neat. It's like every year at that time we can have like a party. I know when
right.
my daughter was baptized, they gave us a candle, and our pastor said we're to light the candle every year on her baptism.
Oh,
We missed the first year, but that's cool. We did it in spirit. I think
no, you're
everyone.
a bad parent. That makes you a bad parent.
I know, because I didn't light the candle. But I think as she gets older, as it actually means something to her, because for us,
Yeah,
we're like, okay. But especially with, infant baptism, it's
right.
different than I grew up with. But having that candle where you make it something tangible, so cool. You had that exact date. You
I
get your little candle. It's
have
super
my
cool.
candle date exactly.
That's awesome. So I guess that kind of answers my next question was like, what was your turning point? But maybe instead of that, we talk about like, what were some of those first steps you took?
All right.
Because you said like you prayed with her, but what were some of those tangible first little things you did?
All right. In talking about the turning point, first of all, I was going to say
Oh yeah.
there wasn't an external turning point because I realized it had to come. I finally, after 50 years, realized it had to come from inside of me. And there were so many things that led up to it. The walking into a room and wondering, okay, which chair can I sit in that's not going to break? If we go into a restaurant, which table am I going to be able to sit at? Don't sit in the booths. All this stuff led up to this, but they were just there. The change had to come from inside me, and until I was ready to make that change, nothing was going to affect that. Nothing I did would make me change until I felt it inside. And when we first started, the first thing she had me do was write down affirmations.
That's okay. It happens all the time when I'm doing live stuff is my dogs go crazy. So it's fine.
I wrote down affirmations, and I wrote them as if I was already at my goal weight. For instance, I feel so good going shopping with my daughter. I feel so good going out with my husband and walking by the river. Things that as if I was already at that. And I have said those every morning for over a year now. I have said those every morning, and that has really helped my mind get straight, because I see, okay, this is going to happen. I'm going to be there. I'm going to do this. And a lot of them I've already reached. And it's very overwhelming, and very powerful.
Yeah.
But that was the first steps we took.
That is incredible. And I think that is such a unique place for people to start from. And I think, there's those people that maybe they're not exactly where you are, but they're not where they should be. And they're dealing with health issues, and they've gone like up and down and up and down and up and down throughout these years. And I teach this too, kind of, if we start with the action, that's all we have is action. And eventually we're going to get worn out.
Right.
So having that preparation, and then and you're preparing the mind, and then having the action, and then, you're still in that action phase right now because it's an everyday, but we have the preparation that makes the action manageable, because we're going to get tired of it. And I'm sure you have some days where you are like, just done.
I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it.
But then you start your day off. Right. And you have your routines, you have your affirmations.
Right.
So how many of those affirmations have you kind of put a check mark in?
I have completed, I have about 25, but I have put check marks by 8 of them. And I am really proud of those. Really, for I used to avoid all my shopping was done online because I hated shopping because I couldn't do the walking. And my daughter's birthday, there was something she wanted. And so I drove to the mall and went into the mall, walked to the store, purchased it, and walked out. And I was just like, check, baby. I was so proud of myself and
That's
just so
so
happy.
awesome. That's so incredible. And you see, like, and I think if you're watching this on video, which, I mean, you don't have to, you just listen to it, but if you take a minute to watch this on video, the face transformation when you said, I went into the mall, it wasn't, I went into the mall.
No, it's huge, right?
Yeah,
Like, yeah.
So tell me, when you say your affirmations, do you make yourself do those facial expressions too?
Yeah, absolutely. You have to be like, no. I will. Here's a funny story though. I never miss saying them. And one morning, my son, I had woken up late. My son wanted me to take him downtown to a record store. So I drove him down there, but I still had to do my affirmations, and I have them recorded on my phone. And I speak it, and then I repeat it. So I was sitting in the car waiting on him with my windows down, repeating my affirmations, and I get pretty animated and loud when I'm doing them. And I happened to look up, and there was a couple walking by looking at me like, okay. And so I started to just, invite them in and come on, let's do an affirmation party
together. That's awesome. Okay. So what are some along the way? I know it hasn't been an easy road. There's no way it could be. You don't easily, no matter what the marketers say, no matter what people say, you do not easily drop 156 pounds. You don't easily drop 10 pounds. Your body really, and the longer you've been, so how long were you at your heaviest weight?
Oh gosh. I mean, it just kept getting higher and higher. In fact, I didn't know really where I was until I had gone to the doctor. And, he said something. And when I saw that written on my chart, I was like, okay, I've reached the highest I could. But I would say, I mean, it's been ongoing. So, I mean, the past 4 or 5 years of my life have been just wasted with this, I feel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but one thing that we know about the body is that it kind of likes to be a certain weight. And as we get heavier, it kind of adjusts. So no matter, even if it's 20 or 120 pounds, it's going to be a challenge to lose some weight. And there's going to be challenges along the way. What were some of your biggest and that's what happens when you have 2 dogs. What were some of your biggest challenges along the way? And maybe what did you do when they came up?
I think probably my biggest challenges have been staying motivated. And just for instance, I have not had a soft drink for over a year. Now, I had an addiction to soft drinks, but I haven't had one. And that was very difficult for me. When I first started this, I went on Whole30 I can call it cold turkey, not Whole30, because you're basically stopping everything. I mean, there's no sugar, there's no processed foods, there's no caffeine, carbonation. And I really, for about a week, thought, okay, I'm dying, so this isn't going to be a problem anyway. I'm going to die. But I got through it and loved the program. And the biggest challenges I think I have faced is just that trying to get away from that, because food for me, it's an addiction. And I associate it with emotions. And I realized that's been my biggest problem is when something happens, I immediately, let's go get Italian food and celebrate, or let's go do this and celebrate. And I've had to change all my thinking. And now it's, that's really good. Let's celebrate, but it's not around food.
Yeah.
And if I get upset, it's not around food.
Right.
It just can't be, because that was my crutch. Food was. I used it to deal with everything.
And I think you're hitting on something, and there's someone out there probably that's listening right now going, you lost that weight. Tell me what you did. Tell me what you did. Tell me what you did. And, you could say, oh, well, I did Whole30 and then I did this and then I did that. But what made the difference was you made little choices. You were consistent. You got your mind right, and you got rid of the junk. I mean, it's not a hard and fast rule for people. And if anyone tells you that, they're very wrong. And I know had conversations along the way, like, what about this thing? Try it. What about this? Try, because that's not really what it's about. It's about like learning your own body and having your mind right so that when a challenge arises, you're able to deal with it. Because I think if
that's the biggest thing that I learned from you is, like I would kept calling you and I'd say, should I do this? Should I do that? And you would say, well, what is your body telling you you want to do? What are you feeling that you need to do? And I realized it's not, there's no set thing for any person. It's got to be what you're comfortable with and what you want to do, or you are never going to, and I'm not saying anything bad about these diet programs, but I've done Weight Watchers, I've done Nutrisystem, I've done, you name it, the cabbage diet. I've done everything there is. I've paid thousands of money for miracle drugs, and I would lose. And then I would go celebrate because I lost. Yes. And I would gain the weight back. Yes. And then I would get depressed, and then it would come weigh time again. So I wouldn't eat for 2 days to make sure I had at least lost a pound. I'd lose and I'd go right back to my eating habits. So it's got to be something you're comfortable with and that you want to do, or you're not going to stick with it. And that's just going to make you feel worse.
Yeah. And getting the mind right is like the biggest thing. I think that because this whole industry, and you can talk about the billions and billions and billions that the supplement industry generates. And that's not saying I have my own supplements that I've been taking for years and years because they do my body good. We talked one time in these Memo chats with a registered dietitian who recommends a supplement, like a multivitamin, but none of that would do me any good if I didn't have my mind right, because they're just pushing action. Do this, bum, bum, bum. Well, what if I don't? Well, there's no action plan. There's just action. So we don't have that mental part of it. So I love that this is coming out of this, because I know there's someone who's waiting for the second, what did they say? The shoe to drop, the foot to fall. I don't know.
I think it's the other shoe to drop.
Other shoe to drop. The other foot to fall off. They're waiting for someone to say, well, and here's the drug that we're pushing today.
Right.
Not it. And I mean, if that's what you're waiting for, go ahead and turn this off, because we're not going to say it. But we are going to talk about some more of the challenges and how you dealt with them. So, if you would have known how hard this was going to be, so if someone were to say, here's everything that you're going to have to go through, would you have still started?
Oh, 100%.
If you could, but you knew how good you were going to feel. Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's like I talked about, you mentioned you can say I'm very happy and I feel good, but that doesn't explain the feeling, and it doesn't explain, it's like a different person coming out, because where I was very withdrawn and not active, I'm changing all of that. And so it's like, absolutely, I would do this again. I wouldn't even hesitate.
Just so you know, when your face disappears, it says Joe Mama.
That's me, baby.
So if she goes away again, that is Joe Mama.
I am Joe Mama.
So cool. Yeah, because I know there's somebody out there, and I know I keep saying, like, what were your challenges? Well, how do you feel now? But I just know that there's somebody out there who's where you were, and they need to hear this, that it is worth every hardship.
Oh, absolutely. And I still have a long way to go. But there's no way I'm going to stop. I mean, there is no way I'm going to stop what I'm doing, because there's just been too much pain, too much struggle, and I've learned too much, and I've mentally gone through so much. I'm not going to stop it.
Very cool. Okay, so we talked about some challenges. What about, I'm sorry, I keep looking over here at my notes. What about like your biggest joy out of this whole thing? I know you talked about going shopping. Is there anything else?
Yeah. Oh gosh, yes. I think it's seeing my kids' reaction. And that brings up something interesting, because before, when I had done things, I would always say, oh, I'm doing it for my kids. I'm doing it for my kids. But that's not it. That's not it at all. But seeing their response to me and their support of me, and my whole entire family, all my sisters and my nieces, you included, went through the whole 30 with me when I started. everybody did that with me and were so supportive. If I have a bad moment, I can call someone. I've called you before. I can call my sisters. And my kids are very supportive. They never, all the weird stuff I may have in the house to eat, they never say anything. They never complain, and they're so positive. It makes me really feel good. Like I joke, my second son, who's very literal, he does not sugarcoat anything. And the day he said to me, "Mom, you're not nearly as fat as you used to be," was probably the greatest day of my life, because I was like, okay, that means I've really done something, because he noticed it.
But we all need those people, like as much as you want those. And we talk all the time about how like you've got I call them like your Fab Five and your NAB Five. Like you've got those 5 people who are always gonna like lift you up, and you've got the 5 people who are always gonna bring you down.
Absolutely, but that's good. I need to remember that. I like that.
You need like that extra category of like that one person that you really don't want to talk to, but you need to hear what they have to say.
But that keeps you grounded, because they're so, okay, this is the way it is. And they're not saying it to make you feel bad or to make you feel good. They're just stating a fact. So they'll be our middle of the road.
I think that's a common thing. I'm a pretty new mom, but I've talked to a lot of moms and I've worked with a lot of moms along the way. And I think that's a really common thing, is people saying, and it works both ways. Like we kind of use our kids as like, oh, I'm doing this for my kids, because it makes us kind of look good on the outside, because moms aren't allowed to do it for ourselves.
Right.
And that to me, such a travesty. Like we are absolutely, in fact, we are worthless to our children unless we are living our best life.
Right.
We're being our healthiest. And then on the other hand, and you may have been this person too, because of like, oh, I'm doing it for my kids. Maybe go in the store. One of the things we're really working on this week is I'm going to the store and I'm buying food. I need to be honest. I'm buying it for me to eat, and not, oh, my kids are,
the kids are home this summer, so I really need all this.
I know, and I kind of joked. I was like, we had really good examples of that sometimes growing up, are in the family. Like, oh, I'm gonna buy this because this person they love that. You're like, do they? Do they really?
Seriously. I mean, I'm not gonna name names, but
that's we're not here to get ourselves in trouble.
Right.
Yeah. So, but there's and when you see it modeled, that's the hard part too. So I think what we're trying to say, though, and I don't want to knock anybody who's saying they're doing it for their kids, because I know what we're trying to say is
you're doing it to be around for your kids, to support your kids.
I'm doing it for myself to model this behavior.
Right. Exactly.
But you have to start with the like I am, because that's part of the responsibility taking too. Like your kids didn't get you there. So
right.
I mean, well, they do give us a little extra weight, but
yeah, I was gonna say they probably added most of the stress that caused this, but we won't go there.
And the stretch, I was like, that's been the fun part. I'm like, oh, no one told me that skin doesn't go back. That's fun. They did tell me that. That's why I waited until I was 37.
No, she doesn't have an issue with that at all.
No, not at all. Alice, when you watch this later, yes. Okay, so
when she's burning her candle.
When she's burning her candle for baptism, we'll play this whole interview for her. Absolutely. So let's see. And feel free to jump in if you have something that you plan to say that I didn't cover. But I wanted to talk about like let's say if you could rewind, I said 5 years, but somewhere right toward the beginning when you were not seeing results and you were kind of starting out, you were in the middle of it all, but you weren't seeing the results yet, what would you have told yourself? Because I'm sure at first it's a lot harder because you don't see any results yet.
Right.
You're really like,
and people don't.
Yeah, and whatever, I may as well just have a donut, because what is the big deal about a donut when we know consistency is the name of the game? But what would you have told yourself?
I almost have to remove myself from that and look at me as a different person, because the mentality is so different. And I would definitely, and if there's anyone who's feeling this, I will say this: you are beautiful no matter what you think about yourself. You have beauty and you are so worth loving. But until you can love yourself and feel like you're being the best self, it's not going to work. And it's going to be a painful journey. It's going to be a very mind-blowing journey when you realize a lot of things about yourself. But, it's an addiction. It's just like anybody else who's trying to recover from addiction. You're going to have a hard time with it, but it's going to be worth it. And I hope when I reach the end of this journey, that I can look back and say, oh man, I went through this and this and this, and I am so proud to be here at the end of it. But I wouldn't trade a day of it because I'm so proud and I've worked so hard.
Yeah. And so this is going to be really cool because so my Mind into Motion group actually gets access to all these interviews first. So I'll have it up in their group. And this week, what we're talking about is disordered eating patterns and the fact that it's not about food. And one of the things that is hard about it, though, is if you were addicted to cocaine or if you were addicted to alcohol, we would put you in rehab, we'd get you over it, and then we could say, stay away from that stuff. The hardest part is that you cannot stay away from food. You need it to live. So I love how you said, kind of just resetting completely. You started with Whole30, but if we can just find a list or look at, I know what Melissa, our registered dietitian, said, if we look at food, is it in its most natural state? That is food.
Yeah.
That is food. And if we can look at the rest of it and just say, hey, that's not even food.
Right.
It's almost the only way that we can treat this and treat the mind with that food in it, because the food itself we cannot ever get rid of. And that's so hard. And that's why people fail more at weight loss and dieting than they do at rehab. That's just, people fail every day. We don't even compare the statistics. We don't even compare the statistics because it's so ridiculous to look at how many people fail a diet versus fail rehab. It's not even the same, but quite honestly, we're dealing with the same thing. And it's not a skinny person thing either. So one of the things I find is a lot of people who are maybe in your boat feel like when they're at their heaviest and they say, well, I have an eating disorder, they would never say it because people would say, are you crazy? Oh my God, that fat girl said she had an eating disorder. And like, are you kidding me? It is an eating disorder. Anytime you disorder, you can go both ends of the spectrum and have an eating disorder. And I think the more we're comfortable saying like, oh, here, just have a piece of cake. If you say, no, I have an eating disorder, I cannot have that cake. Being able to say that kind of stuff and like you're saying, treat it like an addiction. I mean, I know that might sound goobery and there's going to be people
but it isn't
don't buy into it.
It's an addiction. It's something that is replacing feelings. It's replacing emotions. It's trying to get you from one point to the next. It's an addiction. You feel high when you're there and then you crash. And, I think it needs to be treated that way. And that's what I say all the time is, no, I have an addiction. So I have to stay away.
Mm-hmm. And it's acceptable if it's alcohol or drugs, right? I mean, I've never been, and maybe that's because I'm hang out with too prudish of people, but typically I'm not like offered drugs and people are like, here, have this drug. Oh no, I'm an addict. That doesn't happen. But alcohol, that type of thing that you're around a lot is totally okay. In fact, it almost makes other people like, and this is a kind of a funky thing that I like to think about, is it makes other people like not judge themselves, but kind of look at their habits. If someone is an alcoholic and they come in and say, oh no, all of a sudden everyone is like, oh, is it okay for me to have a glass of wine? Oh my God. So why are we like, instead of like not supporting that person when we're eating cake and saying like, oh, sure, it's an addiction. Okay, I'm gonna eat my cake anyway. Why don't we get uncomfortable with like, oh, well, what is this doing to my body?
What am I doing?
Right. And I think that's a really cool thing that's coming out of this conversation that I don't know that either of us planned, but I think looking at it as a disorder and looking at it as something that's wrong, because it's not about the food, it's about the mental aspect. And the more remember that.
You look at people's response to it too. I have a drug problem. Oh my gosh. Are you getting help? Blah, blah, blah. I have an eating problem. Well, stop eating.
Yeah.
That's simple.
We'll that's so gross.
Yeah.
I'm like,
so
yeah, it's interesting.
What society does to us too.
It is, absolutely. Yeah, and you know, you're talking about too, like once you get to the end, which quite honestly, like once you're quote unquote an addict, there's no end, and it's gonna
Yeah.
be, you're gonna always be talking about it, but you're gonna be, and I know what she's talking about at the end. I just kind of want to clarify that it's when she reaches her goal weight. That
Yeah,
doesn't mean she's
exactly.
gonna turn around and celebrate with Krispy Kreme.
No, 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 no,
she's
no,
gonna
no.
she's gonna say, okay, I'm at this goal weight. Now maybe that means your portion sizes, you could have a bigger portion if you wanted one day, and it's not gonna have a detrimental of an effect. But having that same crack, that same drug will have a huge effect and it will relapse.
Exactly.
Just
Because
like
I've done that many times on all the other diets. You know, I've done, and I hate to even call what I'm doing a diet because I feel like you said, I'm going to be doing this for the rest of my life. So
but
I
the
don't
word
really want to call it a diet.
well, no, because the word diet really talks about what we're eating every day. Our society has made the
So
word
with,
diet.
right. When I say that, people are like, oh, what kind of diet are you on? It's not,
Right.
oh, well, you know, what are you eating? It's, oh, what kind of diet are you doing?
As you
Because
say,
I want
I'm on a great diet. It's called Mom Mastery University. You listen to personal development every day. You go through Mom Boot Camp. You get
oh,
your
no, 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 no. I thought it was
I
a
don't
pill
want
you
to
were
do that.
taking.
No, that's way
Too much
too.
work.
That's way
Too
too
much.
hard. Give me this pill. If I could just like take some personal development, that would be great.
Right.
Um,
Right.
So is there anything else you want to talk about before? And I definitely want to talk about your blog here at the end. Is there anything that you want to add about just your journey and where you are today?
I am thankful for that day when I was at my lowest. I'm really thankful for that day. And I am especially thankful for my sister and getting me started. And like she's the first to say, well, you did it, I didn't do it. But she got me started down the path that I needed to be on. And I want to tell, if anybody is thinking about doing something like this, if you don't have your family support, it's going to be, my son in the background, tremendously difficult, almost impossible to do without some kind of, even if it's a group of friends that you keep around you, you've got to have some kind of support. Because there's going to be days where you just say, no, I'm not doing it.
That's I feel like we're kind of actually going through the Mind into Motion program as we talk, but one of the things we do in like week 2 out of 12 weeks is we have a support system contract. And I call it that support system because it's not always, your family might not always be the people, that you're closest
Right.
to. Like, we live really far away. So I know we started a group me when you started your Whole30,
Right.
and we
Right.
all kind of tabbed in on that and would talk. But if you, sometimes you need that person who's physically close. So I have them find like a support system. And it's funny, I sing this song to Alice all the time. It's branded, I've turned into a game, but it goes, family, your family, you've got a lot. Some you're blood related to, some you are not. Family, your family,
What song?
they love you. And then we describe someone and we say,
Did you write that?
I made it up on my own, yes. I'm also opening a side business as a children's music artist. Just kidding.
I love that. I think that is so sweet because so much of her family, you know, is going to be your extended friends. I mean, all of that.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, well, we got cut off at the end of that, but it is no big deal because I was just rambling on about a story about how one time I was singing about my friend, and my husband thought I was singing about my dog. And while that was super important, no one needed to hear all of that story. But I want to put you in touch with Joanna because she's got a great story. And the beautiful thing about her story is she is blogging all of this. So you can go back and look at kind of her challenges, her joys, follow her day by day. And a lot of the stuff that she's talked about is in here. And it's joehigg.com. So JOHIGG.com. Joe Higg or go home. So once again, it's Joanna at joehigg.com. And you can connect with her there. Also, she, like I, am a mentor within Mom Mastery University. So if you're looking for someone who can mentor you closely on your journey, and I know people like to be paired up with mentors who are very specific to their needs. So that is something that she does just like I do. So if you're looking for a mentor in your weight loss journey, then she might be the one for you. And you can contact me or her on how to get that done. And if you would like more information about me, my Mind into Motion program, other engagement opportunities like this, or if you have an idea for a Mimo chat and you would like to be a guest, I definitely would love to chat with you and see what kind of thing you could bring to the table, because people need to hear about all components of wellness, and I want them to hear from real people like you, not those like untouchable celebrity types. Although if you have Britney Spears' phone number, pass it along. I'd love to have her on the chat. If you need to connect with me, my name is Gretchen Gegg, and I'm at Gretchen Gegg Friends on Facebook, and then just at Gretchen Gegg if you want to connect on Instagram. And my website is GretchenGegg.com. So GretchenGegg.com. Thanks for joining in today. And no matter what life throws your way, just turn right around and keep facing forward.